Can Bitcoin be hacked? Oh, um, this is again an unbelievably good question. So I think it's fair to say that in life nothing's impossible, right? So absolutely it could be. Has anyone managed to do it in a meaningful way? No. Will they manage to do it in a meaningful way? I don't believe so. Why do I think those things? Well, mainly just years of study. Like the whole point of starting a Bitcoin podcast in many ways is someone somewhere, please tell me why I'm wrong. Like, please come with a reasoned argument and a bunch of reasons that say you're all mental and this thing's going to fade away and die, and allocating to Bitcoin is completely it's a waste of time. And so far, I haven't found that, and neither have all the other people that constantly Bitcoin podcast as well. So it's not just to like how many hundreds of hours I've been asking people questions as podcasts, but also the hundreds of hours that other people have been asking questions as podcasts, and still no one has come to the conclusion that like, yeah, this is why it's going to break. Yeah, if you can find someone that can hack Bitcoin, please, let me know. Again, this is beginner content, so I'll try and talk through like the actual fundamental reasons why. Well, basically, this is where the blockchain itself is useful. So, as we've said, you have a network of hardware devices called ASICs that are constantly hashing the SHA-256 algorithm, and they're trying to guess. It's a guessing game essentially, and the more guesses you can make, the higher the chances you'll get the guess right. And sometimes the chance of getting the guess right changes based on the difficulty adjustment, and they make it more difficult or less difficult depending on the block times, depending on the network activity, depending on how much hash rate's actually plugged in. Now, for someone to go and change the blockchain, they basically have to get the entire network they have to trick the whole network. And what's so clever about Bitcoin is that is exceedingly expensive, like extraordinarily expensive. And so you could spend a huge amount of real world energy trying to trick the network into spending coins twice, for example. Like that would be the obvious thing. And the reason that that's so difficult is because, and then that's the double spend problem, right? If you pass someone a $10 note, you can't spend that $10 again. But a digital dollar that can be literally just like printed on a keyboard, well, you can spend as many of them as you want, right? That's essentially what central banks are doing all the time. Is they're double spending constantly by inflating their balance sheets. And you really, really want to avoid that with your base layer digital money, which is what Bitcoin is. In short, there's a whole load of another way of thinking of this. Sorry, I'll flip it the other way. Is Bitcoin, the more you study it, is this like vortex of positive incentives where all these different things combine together to create the perfect money. And I've heard it described as like the immaculate conception. It's just this extraordinary moment in time where all of these different areas of computer science came together using technology that in a lot of cases didn't exist before and created Bitcoin. The problem that had previously not been solved in computer science was to do with decentralized consensus. And it's called the Byzantine Generals Problem. And so to give a physical example, you've got a city, and that city is surrounded by 8 armies. And the most efficient way of attacking that city is for all 8 armies to go at the same time, and that will guarantee victory. But if one army was to go first, they would sack the city and get everything. And so how do you avoid independent actors from sabotaging the benefits of the group? And how do you ensure that the group wins? And no one had been able to solve this problem from a computer science perspective until Bitcoin. And it's the blend of cryptography and the proof of work hashing algorithm and a number of other different parts of the design combined together to mean that that was the case. That's how Bitcoin stops double spending. And that's how Bitcoin is the discovery of digital scarcity. And basically this vortex of positive incentive makes hacking Bitcoin insanely hard. And I know people have tried, and I know people will try in the future, but it's not been possible. basically. If anyone can, please let me know because it would be well, that's the whole point of this research, right? Let's keep asking questions. Why are we wrong? Why are we wrong? Why are we wrong?